Hello, I'm Cameron Walker and this is GBN Royal and you're watching the weekly edition of Inside the Palace. First up, the King's unusual tactic defies anti-monarchists. The King made the unusual move to greet members of the public in Middlesbrough on Thursday, despite anti-monarchy protesters standing directly behind them. Republic, who campaigned for the UK to replace the monarchy with an elected head of state, were holding bright yellow signs and chanting, "Not my King." Take a listen. Protesters have become a familiar sight at public royal events, and usually members of the royal family do their best to avoid them. This is hugely disappointing for well-wishers unlucky enough to be stuck behind a barrier next to them, because many have queued for hours for a chance to meet a member of the royal family. For the first time, though, the King did not skip over the section containing protesters. Instead, facing them head-on, he went to greet the well-wishers in their vicinity. He completely ignored the protesters and has won much praise online for not allowing a minority to spoil the experience of the majority. Next up, has Kensington Palace U-turned on Kate's fashion policy? A spokesperson for the Princess of Wales appeared to contradict what they previously told the Sunday Times, claiming Kensington Palace would no longer be releasing Catherine's outfit details. Now, I must admit, when I first read the Sunday Times article, I was a little bit confused. That's because the Princess's team had not released regular outfit updates for a number of years and only gave us information on special occasions, such as a state visit or an international tour. But the palace source implied they would not be releasing fashion details, instead urging the public to focus on the princess's work only. Now, this upset some in the fashion world and led to concerns British brands could miss out on an endorsement from their future queen. The Kate Effect describes how Catherine has a powerful influence on fashion and shopping trends. Many items she wears sells out pretty quickly. And it appears the backlash led to the spokesperson having a slight change of heart, attempting to distance the Princess of Wales from the Sunday Times article. The spokesperson told me, "Over the last week, I have received numerous questions about a story regarding the Princess of Wales's clothing and how Kensington Palace shares information about her outfits. To clarify, the comments that appeared in the article were from me, not the Princess of Wales. The comments that were reported should not be directly attributed to the Princess of Wales. To be clear, there has been no change in our approach to sharing information about Her Royal Highness's clothing." The mystery thickens. Next up, how the King's private meetings with the Prime Minister sparked the visit to Cornwall this week. On Monday, the King took the Prime Minister and Deputy Prime Minister on a tour of the housing project he inspired in Cornwall, called Nansleden. Other than the furore around Angela Rayner's choice of footwear, personally, I don't think the King cared what his housing secretary was wearing, and her green coat was suitably formal. Many questioned why the line appeared to blur between politics and royalty. The King has always stayed out of party politics, and I suspect His Majesty would have invited politicians of any political stripe on that same outing if they were in power. Downing Street also insisted the King was not being dragged into politics, but the timing did raise questions about the motives of both Sir Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner. On Thursday, more than 100 possible locations were suggested for new towns in England, as Sir Keir Starmer promised the largest house-building programme since the post-war era. The Labour government pledged in their manifesto to build 1.5 million homes by the time of the next election, and over the last few months, I understand the King has discussed housing with the Prime Minister on a number of occasions. His Majesty offered to show Starmer and his deputy around Nansleden, perhaps to show them how new housing projects could benefit from adequate infrastructure and attractive character. Both of them accepted, which is why the visit went ahead on Monday. Could the King's utopian Nansleden be replicated on a national scale? It's a big challenge. Private developers have tight profit margins and are forced to buy up expensive private land. This means, unlike developments built on the Duchy of Cornwall, which is land formerly owned by King Charles and now the Prince of Wales, the infrastructure and aesthetic touches that gives a neighbourhood character may not be a priority. Private companies tend to want to build as quickly and as cheaply as possible to make it worthwhile. It remains unclear if Starmer and Rayner will take any inspiration from Nancy Eden and encourage private developers to follow the King's lead.
At GB News, we believe in the power of free speech. We're not afraid to ask the tough questions, challenge the status quo, and give you a voice. While others silence dissent, we champion the truth. So by becoming a GB News member, you're not just supporting free speech, you're defending it. Please do consider supporting us today. Together, we'll hold the powerful to account and make sure your voice is always heard. Simply go to gbnews.com/support and stand with us for what matters most.
Next, the King's delight by a young boy's letter delivered personally by the Queen. On a visit to the Unicorn Theatre in London on Wednesday, the Queen was given a letter by 5-year-old Theodore. Theodore is part of the Eco Council at his school, and his mum, Kim Belling, said this.
So Theodore's part of the Eco Council at school, and they've been raising money this term for WWF. So Theodore knows that the King is the patron of WWF, so he decided to write to the King to tell them about all the fundraising they're doing at school. So what else did you do? You did a bake sale, didn't you? So they've done a bake sale, and they had all the children dress up one day as animals. So Theodore was a brown bear and Christian was a gorilla. Yeah. So all raising money for WWF because, why is it so important, the charity? What's happening to the animals?
They're dying out.
They're dying out, the animals. So we need to raise money for the animals so that we've got animals in the future, haven't we?
Yeah.
And Theodore thought the King would like to know of the good work that his school is doing for WWF.
Now, a palace source has told me that I am sure His Majesty will have been delighted to have received this letter from Theodore and to hear of his school's fundraising initiatives. The King is always greatly encouraged to learn how passionately so many young people care about wildlife and the environment. The King became patron of WWF UK during the 50th anniversary year in 2011 when he was Prince of Wales. WWF UK said the King has a lifelong commitment to conservation and he champions environmental concerns. He shares our belief in the importance of safeguarding the natural world so that future generations can thrive. We are grateful for his continued support both during his time as Prince of Wales and now as King. The King's father, Prince Philip, was WWF UK's first president, taking up the post in 1961. Thank you for watching. This has been Cameron Walker for GBN Royal. Don't forget to subscribe for more royal updates.
At GB News, we believe in the power of free speech. We're not afraid to ask the tough questions, challenge the status quo, and give you a voice. While others silence dissent, we champion the truth. By becoming a GB News member, you're not just supporting free speech, you're defending it. Please consider supporting us today. Together, we'll hold the powerful to account and make sure that your voice is always heard. Simply go to gbnews.com/support and stand with us for what matters most.